Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Rebic Ibra, Rebic, il tiro, goal!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Torgrud.
What's up, guys? Happy to be back. We got Maddie with us. Gang's all here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Good stuff. Loving that Lions hoodie, mate. It's a shame that they're crap this year, but you know, same as every year.
Well, it's a hoodie.
Speaking
of
of
the Jets haven't
teams,
won a game.
Have they not won a single game?
Dude, the Lions just fired their head coach and their GM.
Have the Lions not
God.
won a game either? I haven't.
No,
I've
we've
watched
won
a single
4
football game this season.
I
checked last week for no reason, and I saw the Browns actually have a decent record
for the first time
Giants
in
haven't
a
won
long.
anything.
Yeah, but the Browns
Giants
have been
are
at
top.
least competitive the past few years.
I thought
My
last
team
year they kind of started competing, but prior to that,
they fell apart.
long
Last year
win.
they fell apart because I think Odell Beckham Jr. had that ACL tear and they fell off a cliff and didn't make the playoffs. And this year they're doing better again, but their division's pretty strong because Pittsburgh and Baltimore are pretty good as well.
I saw the Giants win their division with a 3-7 record.
My team growing up was always the Giants because I went to New York when I was younger and they were just the team. They just won the Super Bowl. And when I was proper first into NFL, I was like, right, I'll support the Giants then. And they won the Super Bowl again in the first year that I properly supported them. So I keep an eye out for them and they've just been crap for the last couple of years. So I am bothered.
Jesus, when was that? Like 2008 or something?
I was going to say it was
I think it was 2011. And then they won the Super Bowl again in 13, was it?
Was that the crazy catch?
The first one was Plaxico Burress. Yeah, that was the one, and I went just
He
after
shot
that
himself in the leg.
Yeah, he did.
He's also
with
a
the
Michigan
Jets.
State receiver. He's from Michigan State.
And then the second one was against the Patriots again.
Yeah, both of their
when Eli
championships
Manning
have
won
been
his
Patriots.
third.
Anyways,
and then I was the same. They were 9-6, and now they're 4-7, and the top of the division. Anyway, speaking of good teams,
about real football,
proper football, not soccer. We don't have 2 dubs to recap, and to be honest, the Lille game's kind of already gone to the back of my memory now, because A, it wasn't particularly a great game, but B, because tomorrow's the big game. We all know, we could qualify tomorrow. We're recording on Wednesdays. We've got Celtic Thursday, but we will talk briefly about the Lille game. Made a few rotations as we have been doing for the Europa League. Like Dalot came in, Tonali started in midfield, Castillejo on the right. A few rotations. Obviously, we were without Ibrahimovic, so Rebic got the nod up front. First half was cagey, whatever. I thought we probably had the better of possession, but Lille were the ones who managed a couple of shots on target. Then we scored within 2 minutes of the second half. Castillejo tap in after really good work by Rebic. He cut it back to him, empty net, 1-0. I was really hoping then we'd turn proper scummy. We knew that what was out on the field wasn't our first choice 11 and that we probably didn't have 2 or 3 more goals in us. So I kind of wanted us to just manage the game a bit better. We didn't. We conceded a really sloppy goal. That was one where it sort of pinballed across the box. You could blame Gabia. You could blame anyone really. And Tonali maybe. And the ball fell to Jonathan Bamber, I think it was, after Jonathan David miscontrolled it. And one of those, it was a bit misfortunate really. I don't hold one sole player accountable for it, but it was, I guess, a lack of concentration. But all in all, after all that, not a bad point, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. After suffering our worst home European defeat in our club's history to them in the reverse, I'm very happy to go away with the draw, especially like you said, not our best 11, not even close to it. So I'm happy with it. We're still in the hunt, and potentially, I believe we could still clinch first, correct? If specific things happen. Probably won't, but
we're actually in a really good position because we either crash and burn, which is unlikely, but if we win out, we've got a decent chance of finishing top, really.
Yeah. I'm worried about what happened to us, obviously not last season, but the season prior, where going into the final match day, we were top of the group, lost to Olympiacos, and ended up out of the round of 32. So that's kind of my worry. It could still happen, but I don't think that's going to be the case this year. If Zlatan returns, I would imagine he wants to play at least one more of those games. He should be coming back pretty soon, correct?
Yeah, they're saying when I say the reliable sources, always assume that I mean Sky and Milan News, basically saying that probably tomorrow's definitely going to come too soon for him, And they're not
Yeah.
going to risk him Sunday against Samp either. Most likely to come back. For Sparta, that's if we even want to play him, because Leao will be back then, so we might go with him up top if we've got
What's wrong with Leao?
Muscle problem he picked up last international break with Portugal under 21s. Came out and they were talking about it being 4 to 6 weeks because he came off and he didn't manage to see out a half. So they thought it was pretty bad, but it's basically the same as Ibra's. So, yeah, they'll probably get Zlatan back for Parma game. I think they're talking about getting him back for the Parma game, which I think would be fair. You don't want to rush it. You know, we seem to be doing okay, touch wood, without him. You know, we're still scoring goals. We're still looking like a pretty formidable side. So give him the rest that he needs, I would say. And then when
I think we could get away with it against Sampdoria. I think we could get away with it against Celtic. And with Sparta, we really don't need him there either. That's the weakest of the 3 teams in that stretch. But worst case scenario, we bring him on late in the second half, you know, give him a couple minutes just to get back in the swing of things. But I don't think he needs it, to be honest. I think he'll just be ready to go when Parma comes around.
Same.
It does beg the question that might as well throw out there now. I mean, we've talked a lot about like the potential for signing a new deputy striker, be that like a Luka Jovic, Daniel Mal, and any of these players that we've been linked with. Is it necessarily a case of worrying about injuries, so thinking Ibra every now and again is going to miss 3 or 4 games, or is it being more proactive than that and just allowing him to manage his workload to begin with, so he doesn't even pick up these injuries? You know,
that's what you would think.
I don't. Sorry, go ahead.
For each of those scenarios, the answer would be a deputy, though.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. But I think people are talking about it like, well, what if he gets injured and we need someone to step up? For me, it's like someone steps up to make sure he doesn't get injured. Because these fatigue injuries are going to keep coming. He's got 39-year-old leg muscles. And
my problem is, do we want that deputy to be just that, a backup? Or do we want to find that long-term solution and risk stretching it out, you know, the rest of the season if Leao and Rebic can stay fit and we continue this form?
I think it has to be more of
10, 15 mil on a backup
of him on the field and how he's playing on the field, where it's like, hey, don't sprint back and defend every corner. You know, you're the tallest guy on the team, but don't, you know, if you're going to play up top. And it's going to take the rest of the team to step up, because normally the entire team comes back to defend the corner. But like you guys said, he's got 39-year-old legs, so
and I think he started to acknowledge that as well. You know, he said it in an interview. Back, but,
he did.
But yet he's still doing it, and that's why we're getting these problems, you know?
He actually said exactly what you've said there. He said, look, I've been honest with myself and I've been honest with the coach when I returned. I'm not the player I was 10 years ago athletically. So I'm not going to be able to give 100%, even 90% for 90 minutes, because I'll just burn out too fast. But also at the same time, he's always going to go back to defend set pieces. I know what you're saying, like it's not his job, but in a way it is. He's the tallest guy on the team, and he actually has come up with a few decent headed clearances from set pieces in and among all the other problems that we've had. But yeah, it's just about being clever, you know. Whenever it pisses people off on Twitter to see him strolling around the pitch, but like, what's the alternative? He ain't going to sprint everywhere, is he? He's injured, yeah, exactly. That's the alternative. But again, we talk about it every week, it seems. The elephant in the room is what happens when he's gone. We are going to need more of a gradual transition than a knee-jerk. So we need to start thinking about it. The Deputy Ibra thing is it's a difficult one, because, as you say, if you're really bringing in someone who you think can replace him, you're probably paying big money. And are you going to manage to convince someone to join you if he's only going to be a backup at first? I don't know. But there are some profiles that maybe could fit the bill. We actually got a question about it as well, about who's the perfect striker to sign as Ibra's deputy from Ibra Cadabra. I like Maxi did a good feature on it. I like Scamaccia. We were linked with him throughout the summer, but I was apprehensive at the time because he was scoring goals in Serie B, and Sassuolo decided to loan him out to Genoa, who are, as always, an absolutely shite side this year. But he's banging in goals. Like, for a bad team, he looks really good. He looks physical, technical, quick, strong. might be an option. Someone that you can bring in for a bit cheaper who can learn with, work alongside, learn from.
But the question was long term?
No, it just said he'd be deputy now. But, I mean, he could be. He's only 21.
Yeah.
Or you could release Holland.
I told myself I was going to go a whole week without mentioning his name on this podcast.
A
whole week, that's one episode.
Yeah, I know.
You just can't talk about it for 60 minutes.
And yet here we are. I didn't even start at this time. But yeah, that's the only person you could like for like replace him in my book. As unrealistic
not only that,
as it
imagine
is.
him learning from Zlatan.
Imagine what he could teach
It would
Zlatan.
be magical. You gotta remember as well, he's mates with Hauge. Can you imagine if Hauge brings us like a generational striker? That's why we did it. That's why we bought him.
But do you think he would realistically come to the club?
No.
Yeah.
No, he's going to Real Madrid. In my opinion.
I think
not,
he'll go to
man.
Milan. I think, like you said, Jens might, warm him up a little bit. Having Zlatan might warm him up a little bit. If we got the money and we do activate
but
it,
also
warms him up. We got Champions League back.
When were these guys born? When these guys were born, Milan was a team. They grew up watching Milan win Champions Leagues.
No, I think Haaland's like 4 years younger than me, and he was probably growing up in our banter era. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Well,
how old is he?
Depends.
Figure that out.
Depends on how much they remember, I guess.
Everyone growing up knows,
no one's naive to it. But
if he goes to Madrid,
he was born in
will ruin
2000.
Mm-hmm.
Our last league title, he was 11. Our last Champions League, he was 7. He doesn't know shit about us.
No, he doesn't.
He probably. He really.
Everyone has respect. He may not have seen anything, but he.
Well, look at the players that Maldini's convinced. All you have to do is take a walk around the trophy room, and
also all you have to do is get a call from Maldini.
Also,
that's true.
Real Madrid, they might end up in Europa League this year. So who knows? We might become more appealing.
Them and Barca have kind of both fallen off.
I think Barca secured round of 16 today, didn't they?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're.
Yeah, they had a rubbish group.
Yeah, they've had a terrible year, but they're through, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, conscious getting sidetracked here. The Lille game, I'm just trying to remember a couple of performances and then we'll move on. Kier was good. Donnarumma was good.
Kier's been great.
I'm looking through the player ratings. Basically, it was like the front players that didn't do particularly well. Castillejo, Çalhanoğlu looked lazy, misplaced a lot of passes. Hauge, of course, missed the square ball.
Oh, yeah. Fuck.
Which was a shame, because I ain't going to berate him for it, obviously, but
that would have been a winner.
For next time to pick his head up. That really reminded me of World Cup semi-final when Kane should have squared it to Sterling for a tap-in to put us 2-0 up against Croatia. He didn't, and we lost. So
yeah, that's all right. That's a rookie
Croatia
mistake.
was also
young.
a great
We'll
team.
Figure it out.
Yeah, they were. They really.
And there's no way that you would have beat France.
There's that too.
I think we'd have not lost 4-1, but
you would have lost 5-1.
Maybe.
Yeah, Pickford's horrible. So
we beat France last time we played them, though.
And US tied them.
There you go.
It's not saying much.
So if amateur teams can do it, then. Anyway, so the Fiorentina game, is fresher in the memory. This one was a solid home win on like a Sunday daytime, as I can remember. We normally struggle in the Sunday early kickoff, which is obviously noon their time, but this one was 2:30. No, it was 3:00. So Sunday afternoon, but still, I have bad memories. In fact, the most vivid memory I have is when it was Pioli's first game and we were 2-1 up in the last minute against Lecce, and Calderoni scored that screamer to make it 2-2. But this was a lot more comfortable. We didn't start well, but the sign of how things are going for us at the moment is that we've been backs to the wall for 15 minutes. Then we got our second corner in the game, and we were 1-0 up. Romagnoli ghosted in. We conceded that goal so many times. Roma's third equaliser was that exact goal, basically. Kumbula at the far post after a flick on. But that was it. 1-0 settled the nerves. Then we got a second. Definite penalty. At first, I thought that's a really harsh call, but then when you watched the angle that the ref saw, he did kick Salamarcas over. Kessier, El Presidente, on penalty taking duties, made no mistake with the first one. Second one wasn't actually a bad pen, to be fair. But
Yeah, I just
he gets the right way.
The Milan's live tweeting was pretty funny because from the first penalty, he said, Kessie steps up, a certainty from the spot. And then the next one, he misses. And they say, nobody's perfect.
Hannah Montana. Yeah. But
it was
then
a good
after
performance
that,
by everyone, though. I thought
yeah.
the whole team looked great. Shout out to Donnarumma and Romagnoli specifically, and Salamakers. But for this one part that I'm talking about, Donnarumma made that incredible one-on-one save against Ribery, and then Romagnoli cleared out the rebound, which would have changed the whole course of the game, I believe, had they have got that in.
Yeah,
Romagnoli kind of found his old form in this game too.
Yeah, he's back. He got it back. That's what we've been hoping for, what we've been needing. I still don't think he's doing better than Kier right now, just because consistency is key, but fantastic. Happy to see him back. And yeah, Salamakers, man of the match. I believe he was given that. I had Romagnoli my man of the match, but everyone else had Salamakers, and rightfully so. He was incredible. Stole a ball, ran for a counter, almost got an assist off that, right?
He should have had a second penalty, actually, should Salamakers. He got pushed over in the second half.
Oh, yeah, he got thrown.
But because we'd already had two, the ref were like, nah, I can't really do a third.
Three.
And then we'd have given it to Çalhanoğlu, and he'd have missed, so we wouldn't have had a penalty taker anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, Romagnoli was awarded man of the match in our player ratings, and I thought, rightly so. If we're going to criticise him as much as we have, then it's only right that we praise him when he gets it right. And it was a good performance. Now, the reason that I'm not jumping to any conclusions and saying the captain's back and all this is because, in relative terms, he was up against a pretty slow forward line. Ribery wasn't on his side, but then there's like Castrovilli, and obviously Vlahovic isn't the quickest of centre forwards either. And the reasons that he's been exposed in recent weeks is because he's come up against pace. He didn't really have that, so it played more into his hands, and I think that will hopefully give him some confidence. So now he's all right.
Fiorentina aren't a threatening team. They haven't been for a while. I think we've been touching on that. I mean, they have really crummy players like Bonaventura and Cutrone.
Crummy. Cutrone.
Not the biggest fan. Yeah. But still, it was nice that a team full of Milan rejects didn't score against us, because it seems to be the case every time a former player is up against us. They find them back in the net, but this time they just weren't good enough, which is why they're not with us. So that's cool too. Continue. I just want to throw some digs in there.
There was one incident that I'm going to say Romagnoli was at fault for, and I hate to do this while we've just talked him up, but I want to mention it as well because Donnarumma made that amazing save, was when Vlahovic did actually burst past him on the left side of the box, and he whacked it near post, and it hit the post. It hit the outside of the post, and then it was only on replay on slow-mo that you saw that Donnarumma got a pretty noticeable tip on it, and otherwise that was beating him at his near post. So excellent again.
Who has a better goal per game ratio than Andre Silva for AC Milan?
If you said Patrick Cutrone.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I would imagine
so.
He does.
I hope so, seeing as he actually got play time.
If Andre Silva got as many games as Andre Silva, he'd have maybe 5 goals.
If Andre Silva had as many games as Andre Silva, he'd have exactly what he has.
I'm sorry, as Cutrone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I remember Andre Silva's first goal in Serie A didn't come until the second half of the season, did it?
Yeah, but he already had
just before
a hat trick and a brace in Europa League at that point.
He was a flat track bully for us though in the Europa League, wasn't he? Didn't he score a hat trick in qualifiers against a team that didn't really have
he had 2 hat tricks in Europa, I believe. Right?
And then he scored. Didn't we play Austria Vienna? And I think he scored twice and we beat him 5-1 or something. Then he went missing after that, like the Arsenal.
But he earned us I want to say 6 or 9 points by himself with last-minute goals.
And everyone was questioning why he couldn't translate that form to Serie A. And then I think it was just before Christmas, he scored a last-minute header to win the game at Genoa, and everyone was like, this is it, he's here now. And then I don't think he scored for us after that.
Well, then he still wasn't getting minutes. He was being subbed on in the 78th minute all the time, and then he gets one start against a good team. I don't remember who it was, but then the rest of the team.
He's got to prove his worth, man. When you get a start, you got to prove it. He didn't do it.
He was a 35 million euro player, Damn.
You got to give those players game time.
How much did they buy him for? 2?
2.5.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously that was crafty accounting because we got Rebic for 3. So it was a way of screwing Fiorentina over, basically. So we kind
That's
of
what
did
it was.
to
Yeah, it was to where they were the
ensure-
same price that Fiorentina got as much as Andre Silva was bought from us from, and then we spent the same to whomever. That way, all 3 teams had like 2.5 or 1.5 or whatever it was.
It was crafty accounting, and it was pretty good as well because obviously the main thing is that we didn't have to pay much extra at all to get Rebic, who's obviously been more used to us than Andre was. You know, Rebic was our top scorer last season after not showing up for the first half of the season.
Was he?
Yeah, he got 11.
He had 11.
Yeah,
Zlatan had 10.
We had an 11.
Wow.
We had an 11, a 10, and a 9. I think Hakan was a 9.
Yeah.
Interestingly, we already have 13 different scorers this season in all competitions,
Which is the most in Serie A.
It's 3 more than next, I think, which is
You're
Atalanta.
tied for our best start.
Yeah.
Ever, yeah.
After-
We've had an even better start than the season that we absolutely walked the Scudetto, which was 2003-04.
Yeah, in the 3-point era, this is our best start ever. We also have second most goals in the league right now, the second best defense, and the first best goal difference. So we're absolutely the greatest team in the world.
Oh, ever.
Full stop.
When
That's it.
When
End
you're
the
up
show.
at the top of both you don't have to be first in both, but when you're in the top 3
we're second
of
in both.
both scoring and goals conceded, something's going really, really well for you. You know, really well. Like, it's what Juve did the seasons that they won the league by 20 points under Allegri. They never let goals in, and they won every game 2 or 3-0. And we're sort of finding that now. But I don't want to jinx it now because we're not going to win another game.
I don't know the exact numbers, but I think since like the start of 2020, as far as Serie A points go, we've had more than anyone by like a margin of 24 or 27 or something ridiculous.
I did a tweet about this, so let me read it out.
Yeah, I think
I would love to
there was
be
3
up
different.
by 10
I think we had
points for Christmas.
57 points
So
in
here we
2020,
go.
right?
So Serie A in 2020, we have 68 points.
Oh,
Atalanta is second with 61. Juve third with 58. Serie A post-lockdown, we're top with 53 points.
That's what I was
Second is Inter with 46. And third is Atalanta with 44. And then this season, obviously, we're 5 points clear of Inter. So it's going pretty well.
Being 5 points clear from the next team is pretty great.
Well, the thing
especially when you're in first.
I know.
The thing is,
No matter what happens next week, we're still in first.
We better go up another 3 points.
Well, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? I think there's a couple of
Are there any other big
games?
games? Yeah. Because that would make a big difference.
If you can sort of pad out a lead, then all of a sudden, let's say we're 5 points up by the time that we play Juve or something. It doesn't even matter if we lose to them because we'll still have that gap. But you go into it with a bit of a...
Like, granted, the Napoli one really was a 6-point game, you know, especially with them coming and crushing Roma 4-0 right after.
They made Roma look so bad.
So the Turin Derby's on Saturday, which isn't that big of a game, to be honest. But
no, because
Roma Sassuolo is a good one. That's a really big one for us, I think.
Who's Inter playing?
Bologna.
At home. Away?
Shout out that person on your friends list.
Really good. Yeah, we play last, actually, so the pressure could be back on us because we play on Sunday night.
Or the pressure's off us if everything goes according to plan.
Possibly, but then the pressure might be on us to make it a 7-point lead or whatever. But we didn't seem to mind with that.
It needs to be a 7-point lead or an 8-point lead.
Whatever it might be. The thing is, we can't expect to keep extending our lead every week, but we've got to hang in there and punish the mistakes of other teams. So Fiorentina, before we move on to the 2 games to preview, like I say, Romagnoli was man of the match. I want to give a shout out to Sandro Tonali, who I think probably had his best start in a Milan shirt. Best start, I would say. He looked
his best game. I don't think he's had any substitute appearances better than that either.
No, probably not.
I think he's just looking much more comfortable.
Yeah, and he's still showing some nerves. He's still making some.
Just wait till he has
mistakes, but
the fans behind him. Oh, I bet he's going to play so well.
Oh, I don't know.
Wait until he doesn't have the fans behind him.
Yeah, he's going to be
if he's as nervous
bad.
like this in an empty stadium, like admittedly, it's taken him longer to warm up than I thought it would. So when fans are in there, he might be nervous all over again. And hopefully the fans understand that and don't start booing him, because then he'll just never get good. He's obviously emotionally driven. So
people keep talking about this. I keep saying it on Twitter about, oh, we need fans to be staying away from San Siro for as long as possible. The way I see it, the fans aren't going to show up angry like they normally do every season. The fans are going to show up and want to get behind this team. Like, as soon as, if they lift all the restrictions, right, let's say, before that Parma game, and we can sell tickets, it will be a sellout. Like, it will be, because we're playing so well. This team is giving us reasons to be proud and to be optimistic. And it'll be a sellout. So it's like, all right, there you go. You've been doing it in front of an
I foresee
stadium.
fans coming back the last quarter of the season.
Yeah.
And if we're still in first, then we're going to win the title. Because our stadium atmosphere is going to be unfucking real.
Yeah, but it's been both a blessing and a curse, hasn't it, for us? You know, like when things haven't been going well, it's been an absolute curse. Players can't seem to. Every time you give the ball away, there's a groan. Like everyone literally groans in that stadium.
Yeah, well,
but this time,
I think we've been looking good. We have not been giving the ball away nearly as much as we normally do.
That's true. We're keeping the ball a lot better.
I'm telling you, I had a dream the other night. We won the league title this year on the second Juve game. That it's realistic. It's realistic.
Mine's the second Juve game.
Is that like the third last game or something?
Fourth last.
It's definitely possible. Imagine winning the league against Juve.
You have to be 12.
Making a nice Juve
you have to
sandwich.
Be 13 clear though.
Well, I mean, imagine we're 9-10 points clear going into that game. We win. That's it right there. And the way this shit's going,
I'm genuinely crying.
It's happening.
Let's move on. Player who perhaps hasn't been brilliant the last couple of games, Brahim Diaz. We'll mention it now because I think we got a question about it, and because I've just seen his name. Someone said, Mitch Silkowski says, if it turns out we can't buy Brahim or Dalot, who do we go for instead? Well, first of all, how much would you pay for Brahim based on what we've seen?
That's a tough one, because I feel like, based on what we've seen, probably not a lot. But based on who he is and what we know and what we think, I would say 25 max, probably 20 to 25 range.
But
based on what we've seen,
not
10 to 12, maybe 15.
Maldini's not buying players based on what they can be. He's buying them based on what they are. And he's also a very Real Madrid-esque player. He's looking for gold every time he's on the ball. He's not necessarily a team player like Teo Hernandez is.
He's getting there, though. That's one thing I've noticed. Right. He started well, and he got 3 goals in he got 2 in the Europa League, and then he scored the goal at Crotone, I think it was. And everyone was thinking this kid's absolutely legit, but that was when he was looking for that end product. That game on Sunday against Fiorentina, he was thrown in on the left wing, where he's been playing as a number 10 for us all season so far. And I think him and Hakan were trying to do the same thing on a few too many occasions. Yeah. But I think if you keep putting him in the hole and you have him as a rotation option, then he's pretty good. He's just got that low centre of gravity. There was that game when he came on against... What was the one where... it was the one where Leao scored... It was Spezia, wasn't it? It was the one where Leao scored both goals in the second half. But he was the one where he was getting the ball, using his low centre of gravity, turning, and then next thing you know, he was bearing down on goal. And he won a couple of free kicks doing that. And you think that's his strength. That's what he can do. Like he'll be good at picking apart teams that play a low.
I do think Maddie's right, though, that he's trying to do it all on his own. He's, like you said, you're looking for the gold. He is a Madrid-style player. And I think even though you're winning free kicks in those situations, that's not always a positive. If there's a clean pass to someone making a run, take it. But he won't. He'll try to do this double step over, fucking behind the back, weird shit. And sometimes it works, but most of the time that just doesn't work. But he goes for it every single time. It's the same immature stuff that we were getting mad at Paqueta and Leao for. Only this time we're winning games, so it's not as big of a deal. But if he could learn to just make the smart pass and do the step over when you know it's going to work, when you're 1-on-1 and not 1v3, then it's fantastic. Then it's great, and you don't know what to expect anymore, and he can get more done. But right now, I don't know. It's frustrating to watch because I'm not a big fan of the flashy players. That's why I like Salamackers, because he never he never overdoes it. He always takes a simple pass. He knows there's a guy right there. He's open. Give him the ball. Make the run. He does the right thing, and that's why he's getting the starts, and that's why he's been more successful. But if Brahim could mix up both of those, then we're good.
And then the fee. Answer. I mean, it's been said by both like Italian and Spanish press that it's going to be around about 25 mil. I guess the question is, do you just bite the bullet and say, yeah, we'll have 25 million, and because we believe in his potential. Also,
or do you think we can make it 10 plus add-ons or something like that?
Yeah, but then there's the risk, I suppose, as well. If you don't lock up a deal now at that figure, what if he explodes and scores 5 in his next 5, and all of a sudden he's a 40 million euro player and we have the chance to get him a lot cheaper? It's a tough one, but we do seem to have a good relationship with Real Madrid. That's what
Listen, if Everton got James Rodriguez for free, there's a deal to be made.
And he on loan.
That's true. No, they bought him. They got him for free.
Wow.
Yeah, but they get a very large chunk of the next of his sale if they sell.
Future fee, yeah.
Which is
I
don't
know. I mean, that's the risk of a dry loan, though. It is what it is. You want him to succeed and help your club. Otherwise, there's no point in bringing him in. But if you can't come to an agreement early, then you risk him having the higher price at the end of the loan. I mean, that's the risk of loans. That's why people don't like it. But oh well.
Well, Mitch asks in the second part of this as well, and EXH also asked it about Dalot. Now, I'm going to keep my balls away from the line here and say that we probably haven't seen enough from Dalot just yet to decide if we want to be looking at buying him permanently. I like the principle of having him in our squad because he can play both right back and left back, so he would literally be a deputy for both positions sorted in one swoop kind of thing. But also he's come to us probably with the intention of having more game time than he currently has. So I don't think it's an absolute format. He said in his interview today, he did the press conference before Celtic, he says he's finding it amazing. He's learning Italian, he's loving it here. So maybe it's just nice for him to feel like a valued part of a squad for once. But at the same time, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that United sell him. And also, I wouldn't have a clue on his valuation based on, what we've seen so far, which quite frankly isn't enough. He'll get a couple more starts. He'll start the next 2 Europa League games and we'll know a bit more then. But I'm going to not stick my neck on the line and say anything about him just yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if we don't sign him permanently if it continues the way it is where he's really not getting much game time. But you're right. It's much nicer having him on the bench, knowing that he could fill in for either fullbacks as opposed to having Conti or hoping Laxalt, or I guess he's at Celtic. I don't know who our backup left is right now, but
we don't have one.
We don't have one. Okay. Well, there you go.
It's Dalot. I mean, Dalot played left back against Sparta and got a goal and an assist.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, he's had a good performance in that one. And he hasn't looked bad in anything. But he hasn't really looked great either. He's just kind of there, and it's a safe pick, but it's not one that's gonna, make the papers. One thing
I will say is I like his adaptability because, and it was picked out in the tactical analysis that was done, which you'll be able to find on our website for the Lille game. We basically at Lille, when we were on the ball, shifted to playing a 3-4-2-1. I mean, the main thing about that is playing 3 at the back, and he kind of dropped alongside the centre back pairing. That allowed Teo to push up as he always does. So he wasn't given as much license to go forward because they hurt us so much on the counter when they beat us 3-0 at San Siro. So perhaps that's why he went a bit under the radar. But I thought he had a good game in that. He looked very tidy. Whereas that game, how our left back functions, how Teo plays, the game against, Sparta, where he got a goal and an assist, was when he was playing in that role on the left that gives him more freedom. And he did pretty well. So I'd just give him a mix and match and see. And if he genuinely looks like he can do both of the positions well, we'd be daft not to at least consider it, because the alternative is we go and buy 2 players. We go and buy a new deputy right back and a new deputy left back, because there aren't many players in world football who can do both full back positions well.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is right now they're outside of Castillejo, we have 0 substitutions that make me worried when they come on. Dowell's a safe option. Krunic is a safe option. Jens Petter's a safe option. Everyone coming off the bench.
I don't even feel bad when Gabia.
Oh, Gabia's great. I don't even mind when he starts. In fact, I've rooted for it a few times. But I think Castillo is really our only person that when they come off the bench, we reduce our quality. So when Dowell comes on, we're still good, and that's why he's getting maybe less attention because the performance isn't dropping, and you don't really focus on the fullback too much.
I think we brought Dalot in as well, thinking that Calabria might continue to have a stinker and that he was going to get that right back spot. And then if he was playing every week, then we'd negotiate his signing. But you got to trust what he says at face value. He says that he's really enjoyed it since he joined from United. So maybe he might push for it himself. We don't know. Obviously, he's got Leao, who he's really good mates with.
Little off topic. When Kutro kicked Calabria in the face, I was like,
"Oh yeah, that high."
I was like, "Aren't y'all buddies?" Like, he's in the face, man.
Some good pictures came out after the game, to be fair, but I was confused why the one that came out was Teo Hernandez with Bonaventura.
I didn't understand that
those
either.
were the ones who were together for like a year. Surely he'd go for Romagnoli or someone who's been here a while. But yeah, still, it was nice to see. I think Bonaventura and Cutrone are both slightly bitter, perhaps, that since they've left, we've actually got the good times back. Well,
maybe it's related.
Good times.
On the route to doing so, anyway. Hopefully. Moving on, the Celtic game that we've got Thursday night. The situation is basically if we beat Celtic, which, I think we'd agree we're favourites to do, and Lille beat Sparta, which, again, is probably the most likely result, we're through. All that remains to be decided then is who finishes first and second. But yeah, we've got to take care of business against Celtic. Now, Celtic weren't doing too great when they rocked up last time. When we went there last time. They'd not started the season well. It's gone even worse for them. Done a feature today with a guy from the Celtic Star about what's gone wrong for them this season so far, which you'll be able to find on our website. Basically, they've won 2 out of their last 10 games. They've lost both games 4-1 to Sparta Prague in this group, which is pretty bad. A lot of fans are calling for Neil Lennon to be sacked as manager. They're 10 points behind Rangers in the league already, who are obviously their bitter rivals. They're in a real mess. They're in a big mess.
It's an interesting change from when we played them the first time because our guest was real confident that we weren't going to win that game.
It's the same guy, and he predicted 1-1 again.
Yeah. Oh, again.
He says that out of principle, though, he's never predicted Celtic to lose. So I get it.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. But
sounds like a really reliable.
When the group was announced, both teams were in first. Obviously, we're still in first. Now you said they're 10 points outside of first, so that's no.
Who's in first? Rangers,
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to see him back.
Actually, all 4 teams in our group were in first when it got announced. I think Lille and Rangers have dropped off. Sparta obviously still hasn't played a game.
Lille and
Celtic. Frozen.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I mean, sir.
Slavia Prague is still, I think, the team to beat in the Czech Republic. But still, Celtic's last result, and this ended up with angry protests outside the grounds. The fans clashed with police, even though they weren't allowed to go to games. They all gathered outside the stadium because they got beat 2-0 or 2-1 at home by Ross County, who I guarantee you've never heard of, and there's a reason for that. They got dumped out. It was their first. They'd won in all cups because they've got a Scottish Cup and a League Cup. They'd won 35 cup games in a row, and that was the end of the run because they'd won every cup competition for the last 4 or 5 seasons or something. So that's over and done with. So yeah, they're in a mess. If we beat them heavily, it could be
Just humor me. Why does Scotland need 2 League Cups?
Why does England? I'm sick of it.
And France actually just got rid of 1. They're down to 1 now. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I think it's stupid, but whatever.
If you're going to do it, then...
You see Tottenham drew Marine, a 9th division team. It's the biggest gap in an FA Cup final, or FA Cup.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think
it's the top. It's the lowest ranked team versus the top team in English football at the moment. So that is incredible. Yeah. Have you seen the pictures of Marine's ground?
Where they're at? You know where they're based?
Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think you would know. Nice.
But yeah,
I only knew because I read about it in an article.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be fun. I mean, Spurs will win, but the problem is though that there's no fans at games. So what should have been an amazing occasion for the whole place is going to be now a bit of a. But anyway, moving on. Just got to take care of business against Celtic. I think we're going to rotate a few players. I think Dalot will come in. the Senkabi is going to come in for Romagnoli, not Kier, which people are saying doesn't make a lot of sense, and I think the same. But then someone said, are we managing Romagnoli's muscle problem to make sure we don't aggravate it? And I think that might be fairly true.
Yeah.
There's a big difference playing once a week versus 3 times in 8 days, you know?
Plus, it helps Donnarumma want to renew by giving him that armband a little bit more.
Ooh, I like that. I'd give him it anyway.
He already
so
said
now
he's going to renew, so
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. That's
And
going
I
to be
think
done
Hakan's
soon.
on the verge of doing it as well, real soon. Çalhanoğlu.
No, I don't know about that, man.
I think he's
I
gone.
think so.
Sell him. Yeah, I'm not paying him $7 million
Everyone's
to
saying
be
it like I was.
You won't
hot
have
cold.
to. I
If
don't know.
I
I'd
buy
rather
shares
place
in
a
the
wager.
team, I'll have to.
Good point.
So I'm
Good
going to
point.
mention
Me
it
too.
because we got the question from ARD Football. What to do about Hakan? He's not worth the reported $7 million a year. It might be 7, it might be 6 that he's asking for. Do you let him leave for free in the summer, or try to do a crafty swap deal like one with Juve for Bernardeschi, or anyone we might want with United? Would you do like Çalhanoğlu for Dalot?
No. Not a chance.
Given that
I'm
Çalhanoğlu
renewing
has, you think?
Yeah, he's getting
Not
renewed.
for that. That's not a very even swap. Maybe plus cash.
Yeah, he would definitely need to be Çalhanoğlu plus cash if you're going for Dalot, but I don't think that would happen. It doesn't
Then you have
benefit
to bring
anyone
in-
to do that.
We're gonna have to drop money in January if Hakan leaves because
Right,
we
it's either
need
we-
someone to replace him.
Yeah, either we pay him, a couple mil more a season, or we spend a large sum of money to buy a new player that's competent enough to replace him, plus a salary for that person, and they're not
But
going to want to come in on cheap
also-
wages.
We bring in a player while we're in first, looking to get Champions League. We're gonna bring in a better player or a player who has better potential than Hakan is.
Just
Because
on the cost thing.
Hakan is like he's like one of the groups from the past building stage of the team,
Mhm.
and those players are not going to last. There are going to be very few players in the team who last. The last 3 are Calabria, Romagnoli, and Donnarumma. Those are the last 3. Kessié,
Kessie.
4.
Conte will probably go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Conte's
like-
on the way out.
Like
Musacchio.
Hakan is not going to be here when we are fighting for a Champions League trophy in 4 years.
On the cost
I mean, that's
thing,
a statement. I like it though.
I worked it out
I
in a
don't
feature. If you go on the website, you'll find it. But I worked it out that if we sign Hakan at 5-year extension at 5 million, which is what he is apparently asking for, that would equate to between 45 and 50 million in terms of what we'd have to pay because you include tax. That would be 5 million net, so you basically double it for what we'd have to pay on tax. So that becomes a 45 million euro commitment. If we were to sign, for example, Dominik Szoboszlai to replace him, that'd be a 25 million euro transfer fee because that's his release clause. So you give him a 5-year deal at 2.5 mil, you're looking at an expenditure of around about 45 mil. So we could basically replace him for the same cost as what we would.
So then you got to look into is
Szoboszlai.
Is he better? Is his potential higher? Is he going to perform more? I mean,
Then
do
there's
we
the
go
Brahim
with
Diaz
Hakan
problem.
already knows the team?
But Szoboszlai is not he's not searching for the golden ticket like Diaz is.
He fits very well with what we're trying to do. I think there's a matter of principle on this as well, because if you give Hakan the money that he wants, his 5 mil, you're getting a knock on the door from Kessié, Benacer, and Teo.
Kessié is already knocking on the door.
Who are all going to want the same. And next thing you know, you've added a third onto your wage bill because you've had to pay these players what they're worth.
I sell Hakan and sign Kessié for more money.
In terms of, if you wanted to pick one to keep, you've got to keep Kessié because he's 23.
Yeah, every player that you just mentioned who wants
He's
a raise
only
from that
23.
deserve it.
Jesus.
Yeah, I throw this out there because this was an interesting thing that I hadn't even thought about from Rocky Award. If Hakan leaves, what do you think about Salamakers or Hauger playing attacking midfield? Basically his spot. Both have quick feet, great control in tight spaces, and seem to know what they want to do with the ball.
I would say yes if we were not in first place.
Yeah, I think that's too much tinkering with too much on the line.
Hauger's got more potential to do it, in my opinion. He seems to thrive closer to goal. Salamakis, you don't take away from that right side because he makes Calabria look very good.
Well,
and
it makes more sense to do that as well. Like you said, the balance, exactly. You don't want to move our starting right wing, knowing the backup is Castillejo, when you can move Hauger to center, knowing that we have Liao and Rebic and
you're not messing with the starting lineup if you're doing that. I like the thought of Hauger playing there because you've got players that can play all across the front three. Then I mean, Salamakis has played left wing, even though we didn't enjoy it. Liao can play left wing, but then you've got like Brahim Diaz who can basically play any of those three positions. Hauger can probably do the same. Gives us a bit of tactical flexibility, but I'm still around pegs in round holes kind of bloke.
Does Shabuzlai still want to come play for, like, is he still interested? I know he was when Ragnick was.
Fabrizio Romano said he's going to make a decision on where to go in 1 to 2 weeks. It seems to be us and Leipzig. Leipzig are obviously favourites because,
Red Bull, yeah.
Yeah, keep the player in there, but also someone pointed
Leipzig's
out
coach?
that Julian Nagelsmann.
Yeah, Nagelsmann's great. I like him.
Well, somebody made a good point. If you're transferring players inside a company, so it's a Red Bull to Red Bull transfer, nobody makes anything out of that. If Red Bull aren't struggling commercially, but if the Red Bull football group needed to improve their accounts, they, in theory, be forced to sell Szoboszlai outside to another club, basically. So if they need that 25 mil just to help fund the Leipzig project, whatever it might be, then who knows? They might end up selling it. Also, Leipzig are stacked for players in that position. They've got like Forsberg, Dani Olmo, Sabitzer. They've got some good players in there. I think he might look.
I think every player you just named has been linked to us at one point or another.
I love Sabitzer. When Ranić was coming, he was apparently the guy that he really wanted. I would have loved Sabitzer. But, I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't mind Szoboszlai. He seems to just fit perfectly with what we're trying to do, young, talented and all that. We'll see. Anyway, moving on. I want to do the Celtic prediction before I forget. I'm going to say 3-0. I'll put 3-0 in there. Oh, by the way, last week I predicted 1-0 against Lille and 2-0 against Fiorentina. So 6 points.
I predicted 3-0, and I was like, come on, score another goal,
I know, man.
Someone commented it early today saying, congrats on your predictions. All this. So I was like, oh, shit, I did predict it.
Wow.
I know we're going to win 2-0 tomorrow. I don't think that
I did it on the podcast.
I think that with Zlatan out and Liao, I don't think we'll have that fire that we did in the first game.
I think we will have the fire simply because we win, we qualify.
In theory.
Yeah, I guess.
Lille should do the business against Sparta. Should.
If Lille win and we win, do we both qualify?
Yeah.
Oh. Should win.
Yeah. Yeah, and also Lille drew at home against Celtic when they were 2-0 down as well. So imagine if Celtic in that last game, it doesn't matter if we finish first or second in the Europa League because you can get anything. You can get a team that drops down. You can get a team that should have won their group.
I thought only the people who finish second get a drop-down team.
I don't know. Is that how it works?
I thought so because it's almost like a punishment. Like you get the worse draw. Like a Champions League team is just implied to be better or a tougher opponent.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that because we got knocked out last time.
We didn't have to worry about the knockout. We were told we can't compete last year. We sucked ass the year prior. And the year before that, we got second and we had Arsenal. And they were
but they didn't. Were they?
I thought they were.
No, I thought we got to the second round. We got through the second round.
That's right. They were a drop-down team, but we made it to the round of 16, not 32. We had them in 16. Right, yeah. So, it didn't matter at that point.
Yeah, that's right. So, yes, I think fine. I just don't want another last game shootout, like we had in the Olympiacos thing. I'm hoping we just do the business, basically. Then what we got? Who do we have? Sampdoria now. Sampdoria are a weird
my
team.
Prediction, I guess.
Oh, yeah, what's your prediction? Go for it.
No one cares. Let's just move on. Just kidding.
Yeah, I was going to say the same as Ollie anyways, 3-0. I think we're going to crush them.
That'd be nice. Anyway, Sampdoria, Interesting team. I picked them this year, not on the podcast, but I picked them in general to do all right this year. They've got Ranieri, who came in and stabilised them a bit last season. He obviously is a bit of draw in terms of players to bring in. But they're currently 11th. They've got 11 points from 9 games. They lost their first 2, then won 3 in a row and haven't won since. Their last 3 results, they lost to Cagliari, they lost to Bologna and drew with Torino. They
haven't won in their last 5.
Yeah, they got knocked out against Genoa in the Cup, so they lost to Derby. Quagliarella's the only one who can score goals. He's got 4 in Serie A. That guy is just immense, isn't he? Let's face it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and I think Torino's a really bad team in that 2-2 draw. So that's the only reason I think they even were able to get a draw is because Torino's just so bad. But they couldn't get anything past Cagliari. They lost to Bologna. They lost to
those
Genoa.
3 wins. Those 3 wins are good, though, if you look at it. They won away at Fiorentina, they beat Lazio 3-0, and they won 3-1 away at Atalanta. Like, those are mad
I think
results.
2 of those are good wins. But Fiorentina doesn't impress me. Why did I feel like there was some sketchy shit with the Lazio game? They just haven't got it together this season.
No, Lazio is struggling. For all those people who said they fall apart, I said no because Ciro Immobile, and that's probably my sole reason. But yeah, they are not firing out of this season.
Yeah.
Again, if we're a serious side, I don't want to disrespect any opponent. I actually have a soft spot for Sampdoria. I like their shirts, but I don't want to disrespect any opponent. If we're a serious team and we want to get top 4, we went there last year when we weren't great and won 4-1 away. We've got to win this. I don't care how. I don't care if it's like the Udinese game and we win 2-1. There are results you have to grind out. There's some that look glamorous. I just hope we get over the line in this one. Another clean sheet would be nice. Things can happen between now and when we play, but Sunday night game I like. Maybe results have gone in our favour so we can open up a wider gap at the top of the league. If not, then the pressure will be on to fight like hell and reopen it to 5 points. So I think both of those are decent situations, and I'm going to say we win 2-0.
Okay, you're stealing my predictions every time.
2-1 then, because Quagliarella always seems to score.
2-0 for me.
Mine was 2-1 as well. I think that it's going to be tied 1-1, and we're going to score like last 10 minutes.
Like the Udinese game.
Yeah, I was going to say so identical. Like I hope that doesn't happen because that's stressful shit.
Mm-hmm.
When it's a last-minute bicycle kick that looks like he whiffs the ball anyways, but still magically goes in.
I do wonder. I don't think we have it in us to absolutely hammer any team without Zlatan. In the league, that is. I mean, Europa League, anything can happen, I suppose. But
yeah.
I don't think we have it in us to beat a team 5-0 without him. But
you never know.
Yeah,
that's true.
Maybe. If Leao is back for them, let's say. But yeah, we'll see. But that should be a good test of where we're at. Samp hasn't always been the easiest game for us. Remember when I think it was when Brocchi came in as caretaker manager. It was his first game there, and we won 1-0 with the scrappy backer goal. Yeah, 1-0 with because I was doing the live report for Goal.com that day.
Mm-hmm.
Working in the office, and everybody else was like reporting on their team and was being dead neutral. I weren't even celebrating when their team scored, and I was covering the Milan game, and I just erupted when Bakker scored. Kind of weird. Anyway, questions. Abhijit, I've probably butchered that. Abhijit Mohan says, is centre-back really the right priority for this team?
No.
We need one more defensive midfielder as well as a striker and a right winger. We seem to have the numbers at centre-back to at least make it to next summer. Well, you always overpay in January. That's one thing I will say. But for me, the situation seems to be, and this is based on what the reliable sources have said, the right wing thing is something we're pushing back to next summer, and it's going to be Tauvin. We should probably talk about that, actually. Maldini came out in an interview in France with Telefoot and basically said, yeah, he's a player that we should be monitoring because he's going to be available on a free transfer and he's really good. Then Tauvin came out and said, it's an honour to hear someone so big in football compliment me. And then Marseille's manager, Villas-Boas, came out and said that he was a bit out of place, Maldini, for talking about one of his players. Now, I don't like it. I have slagged Maldini off before for doing these kind of off-the-cuff interviews and stuff, but you should never publicly speak about another player like that. you just shouldn't. It's not a done thing. You know,
I don't
sporting
care
directors
one way or another, I guess.
I don't care either. I think it's common sense. The player's not re-signing, and to state your interest is not a bad thing, because if he's not re-signing, then get the interest out there.
It does create the opportunity for like a bidding war, though. Now, obviously, this is different with it being a free transfer. But say he had like 2 years left, and we say, oh yeah, we want him. He's good. Then a rival club could hear that and be like, okay, well maybe we want him then. And then now they're just raising the price, even if they want him or not. But that's not the situation. So I don't have an issue with it. I don't know. I think it's a good opportunity to sweep in cheap and get him right away. If we feel like, if we're still in first going into the window, which obviously we might be, I think it's worth to spend the money now and continue to build that contendership status.
I'll tell you why I think it's a done deal. Because Villas-Boas went on to say, what happens if we play them in the Europa League? And the only reason that he would say that is if he's got a player on his books playing against Milan that he knows is joining Milan next year. Do you remember De Vrij in the Lazio Inter game when he was joining Inter at the end of his contract and he conceded like an own goal, so Inter got Champions
in the
League.
last second too.
So I think he's basically admitting there that he knows he's going, and it's left him with a dilemma. But if I was to put it to you in a different context, what if Man United, what if Ed Woodward came out and said, yeah, we like Çalhanoğlu? You'd be a bit pissed off. Because you'd be thinking he's unsettled. His performances are going to suffer as a result.
I disagree with that.
You wouldn't be bothered?
No, I think it's almost a compliment that a big club wants one of our players that they like him. That just means we're doing something right. And obviously we're competing to re-sign him. So, yeah, of course.
I would also be like, hey, let's cash in. Because he's not the player that you think he is.
When you're a winning team, you have to expect some other clubs to want your players.
I suppose. So. The fault as well lies with Talvin for coming out and saying thanks, basically, as well. You know, he should probably have kept his head down.
Yeah, the player should probably keep quiet and just be like, I'm a Marseille player. You know, that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. If Maldini's going to go around with this ruthless reputation where he speaks about other teams' players, I don't mind. He's just got to kind of lean into it, though, so they know what's coming. Richard Saltinis. Ivan Gazidis has been here for 2 years now. How would you evaluate the job he's done so far? Pretty good.
I think we should evaluate Maldini's job over Gazidis. Gazidis
I'm giving jobs.
Yeah.
I'm just from a partnership view, obviously our Fly Emirates sponsorship is worth less than it was prior, but it's no longer exclusive. Now we got all these other ones. And he's shown. We got this Paper Planes brand that we're doing some fashion thing with. We just released a baller jersey yesterday that I'm gonna buy. I think looks great. We have all these other small random.
So Rock Nation, we've partnered with Rock Nation. We've partnered with Google Nest or whatever it's called. We're on Twitch now. We're on Apple Music.
What do we partner with Google Nest for?
Because then you say, okay, Google
stuff, and they like fucking player chants and things. I don't know. I mean,
they tell you the starting lineup and they give you a pre-match playlist and stuff. I don't know.
I'm about to go try it out.
I will say is these are all partnerships, not sponsorships. So they don't bring us any money. It just associates us with these brands. Whether indirectly that has an impact, I don't know. But for example, you said we renewed with Fly Emirates, so we could get sponsor for the training kit and for our sleeve. We don't have a sponsor for our training kit or our sleeve yet. So that's a markdown. I don't think the overall commercial revenue has gone up that much since Gazidis came in. However, we are also in a pandemic where advertisers are not spending as much money as they normally would. And advertising with football clubs doesn't seem as appealing as it normally would. In terms of everything else he's done, the streamlining of the wage budget, which he's spearheaded, but also Maldini's done a lot of work with that as well. I like the vision. And I think that his mission, along with a couple of his right-hand men, is to really drag us into being a team that no longer focuses exclusively on the past and is actually trying to be quite forward-thinking. You know, we've got a young group of players, but not only
FIFA.
that.
That was the other one. Sorry.
Oh yeah, FIFA. We've got a young group of players, but it's not only the playing side. Like all these collaborations and partnerships, they're a sign that we're kind of moving into the 21st century, and we're trying to do things to engage with fans beyond what we'd normally do. And I like that.
I would say the biggest hit against him was the Ranić saga. I think that was the worst thing, at least the way it went about, was the worst thing he's done. Obviously, Maldini in the dark, the exit of Boban, that whole drama, and then the last second turnaround to renew Pioli. Obviously, it's worked out well, and we're happy with it. But that whole saga was unnecessary.
I admire a man more who admits that he's made a mistake and is happy to change things than one who is too stubborn and just goes through with it anyway. We could have been talking about Ranić being nearly sacked or something in an alternate timeline if things hadn't gone well. But he held his hands up Gazidis and said, okay, no, he isn't right. What's right is to carry on with Maldini, Ibra, Kier. Remember, those two wouldn't have stayed. Maldini wouldn't have stayed. Massara would have gone. Things would have been ripped up, would have been back to year zero, and I don't think we'd be 5 points clear at the top. I'll put it that way.
Probably not.
Know?
I agree.
I'll squeeze in one more question then before we're done. Going about shirt sponsor. No more questions. We've been through them all. Good. Before we sign off, just wanted to say, should have said it at the start of the episode, really. We've got merchandise out. We've got 3 designs. One of them is Hullet, Rijkaard, Van Basten. The other one is Maldini, and the other one is SempreMilan wordmark. You'll find details of that on our pinned tweet. We're going to do another giveaway before the festive season, so stay tuned for that. And for all of you who've ordered so far, thank you very much. And let us know when you get stuff. Send us a tweet or whatever with the pic. And we just want to let people know that it's good quality stuff. A mate of mine actually bought a hoodie the other day, £30, which is pretty cheap for a hoodie. You know, for designer hoodies, you're paying a lot more than that. And he said the quality was really good, really soft, and the graphic looks, solid and crisp. So that's a glowing review, because I know he would absolutely rip into it if it was shit. So Dan, thanks for buying one. I'm going to get some stuff and hopefully wear it for the next podcast.
How big are the clocks?
Clock size.
What the fuck is a clock size? They come in all different sizes.
Do you have a clock in your room?
Probably like that.
I do.
Yeah, probably like that. Maybe a little smaller.
No, it'd be smaller than that, I would imagine. You can see, it says the dimensions. It says the dimensions on there.
Yeah.
I'm going to get one of those Maldini clocks.
Of products
cool,
you can put stuff on.
You could put it next to your print.
Yeah.
Good. That's actually a canvas. It's pretty thick.
Canvas. We've got a couple more designs in the works as well, but we're going to hold off, obviously, on that, but that should be exciting. And like I said, for everyone who's bought something so far, thanks. And post whenever you get something, we'll retweet it and all that. And what's the other thing? I looked on our YouTube thing, and something like 60% of our listeners don't subscribe to us. So please subscribe. That would be great. It helps us out a lot more than you'd know. And hit like if you haven't already. I might start setting like targets. Like all the other content creators.
Maybe we can do like a future giveaway where if you subscribe and send us a photo that you subscribed, you can get entered into a chance to win something.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. In the meantime, I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher or at Kilpin Chronicle for some more Milan-based rants. I'm joined by Anthony Torgrud.
Yep, at Torgrud45. Thanks for listening.
I'm Maddie.
Edward __ Toth.
I think that's still it. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. We'll catch you in a week's time.
Andrea Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Ibra, Rebic, il tiro, gol!